Yeah. In the next question, the focus, look at this next question. How many digits are significant in the expansion of 0.0234 to the power 10 to the power of minus 14? In this case, the logic is very simple. Significant digit is nothing but the non-zero kind of a digit. So significant digits are non-zero digits. So what I can simply take is, here we have 0.234, 0.0234. So apart from 0, we have 3 digits. And 10 to the power of 14 is nothing but multiplication by 0.00000001. So many 13 zeros and a 1. So even if I multiply that, we will end up with some form of 234 itself. So whenever we say number of digits which are significant, I can directly go with 3 because there are 3 digits which are non-zero in the expansion of this number. So that is how we simply identify. There is no mathematics involved in it. It's a simple calculation which will identify the number of significant digits in a particular expansion. So I'll mark B as my option choice here. Moving on to the next one. An investor has a portfolio with 10% cash. Okay, 10% is in the form of cash, 30% in the form of bonds, and 60% in the form of stocks. Last year, the return was 2%, the cash return was 2%, the bonds return was 9.5%, and the stock return was minus 32.5%. So the question is right now, what is the return on the investor's portfolio? So which is nothing but the net average return. Average return is nothing but, it's a weighted average. Weighted mean is what is suited very well to this kind of a requirement. So my average return is nothing but 10% into 2% plus 30% into 9.5% plus 60% into minus 32.5%. Whatever gets, that should be our solution. So let me try solving that part in the spreadsheet. Right, what is that number like? 10% into 2% plus 30% into 9.5% plus 60% into minus 32.5%, whatever the number that is working out. Minus 16.45% is the number that is coming out, which means I can directly choose option choice A here. Right, so whenever we are talking about a weighted average, if my weights are already in the percentage form, I can directly multiply those percentages with the appropriate values to arrive at the weighted average in the data. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Okay, find gamma of 5. For this, in one of our theory videos, I have explained it. There are two mechanisms to compute, or two scenarios in which you have different usages for gamma of n. If n is an integer, you can directly take it as n minus 1 factorial. But if n is a non-integer, right, it has to be solved in a recursive manner itself. if n is a non-integer, let's say 4.5, then probably you cannot use n minus 1 factorial. Then we'll discuss about it, but the other way to talk about is 3.5. You start with 1 lesser than this, keep reducing until you get your 0.5, and after that you multiply it with square root of pi, because gamma of half is treated as square root of pi. So it's as good as writing n minus 1 gamma of n minus 1. That is what is gamma of n. So it's a recursive relation. So it becomes n minus 1 into n minus 2 gamma n minus 2. That's how it keeps going on. So that is where this becomes a factorial, because finally gamma of 0 will come out as 1, and if it is gamma of half, it works out to square root of pi. So because in this question, at least the question is about gamma of n or gamma of 5, because 5 is an integer, I can take this answer as 5 minus 1, 4 factorial, which works out directly as 24. So I am marking D as my option choice here. Alright. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Find the maxima and the minima points for the following equation. So some equation is given to us: x cubed by 3 plus x squared by 2 minus 2x plus 3. For this, if I want to find out the maxima or the minima, the first step is do a derivative of this equation, dy by dx. So what is the derivative of this? 1 by 3 into 3x squared plus 1 by 2 into 2x minus 2. This is what is the derivative. So the first derivative is x squared plus x minus 2. Whenever the question is about finding the maxima or minima, you equate the first derivative to 0. So x squared plus x minus 2 equal to 0. Using our quadratic equation solving mechanism, I can very well write this as x plus 2 into x minus 1 is equal to 0, which means x equal to minus 2 or x equal to 1. So my answer has to go with the minima or the maxima occurs at x equal to minus 2 or x equal to 1. But what occurs where? Does the minimum occur at minus 2 or the maximum occur at minus 2? Similarly, does the minimum occur at 1 or the maximum occur at 1? That is what we need to find out. And for that, what we do is we generally differentiate this equation once again. F double dash of x, or sometimes we call it as d squared y by dx squared. So f double dash of x goes as 2x plus 1. Right? F double dash of x goes as 2x plus 1. So substitute x equal to 2 minus 2. If I substitute 2 into minus 2, minus 4 plus 1, I get f double dash of x is minus 3. When I substitute x equal to 1, f double dash of x comes out to plus 3. So wherever the second derivative is positive, I'll have a minimum value at that point. If the second derivative is negative, I'll have a maximum value. So the maximum value will occur at x equal to minus 2. The minimum value will occur at x equal to 1. Now to find out what is the corresponding value of that, so minus 2 and 1, maximum at minus 2, minimum at 1, right? Probably all other don't have a combination of minus 2 and 1, so probably directly I could have marked this as the answer, because minus 2 and 1 are the two values for x. At one point there is a maximum, at the other point there is a minimum. And we are also saying that at minus 2 there is a maximum and at plus 1 there is a minimum. So how do I get this 19 by 3 and all? Substitute minus 2 into this equation, into this expression. X cube by 3 minus 2 cube minus 8 by 3 plus x squared by 2 minus 2 squared 4 by 2, which is 2, minus 2 into minus 2 plus 4 plus 3. So 9 minus 8 by 3 working out to 19 by 3. So the maximum value for this expression is 19 by 3. Similarly, you substitute 1 into it. 1 by 3 plus 1 by 2 minus 2 plus 1 plus 3. 1 plus 5 by 6 working out to 11 by 6, and that is where we are marking this. So whenever the question is about finding the maxima or the minima value, the simpler solution is take the first derivative of that expression, equate it to 0. Based on whatever the values of x are coming out, at that particular values of x, this function will have either a maxima or a minima. In order to check whether it is a maxima or a minima, you again take the second derivative of that expression and substitute the x values into it. If the second derivative value comes out to be positive, we say at that point the minima will occur. If the second derivative comes out to be negative, at that point the maxima can occur. And in case, of course in this example it is not of much relevance, but in case the second derivative comes to 0, we call that point as the point of inflection, right? So to find out the actual point, substitute those values of x into the equation, into that expression, and find out the corresponding value of the expression. That is what would be the pair. So when I substitute minus 2 into this expression, I get 19 by 3. When I substitute 1 into that expression, I get 11 by 6. Alright. So some kind of a practice on these kind of numericals will definitely add value for your success. Is this fine? Alright. Let's move on to our next topic, our next question. Okay, an interesting piece. If 1 by 5 factorial plus 1 by 6 factorial plus 1 by 7 factorial is equal to k by 7 factorial. So basically it's like I'm trying to express all of them in the form of divided by 7 factorial. So I can very well write this like this. If something is there as 1 by 5 factorial, what I'll do is to make it 7 factorial, the denominator, if I multiply it by 6 and 7, denominator becomes 7 factorial. So numerator also I'll multiply it by 6 and 7. So in a way this is becoming 42 by 7 factorial. This move is fine with you, because we are starting off with 1 by 5 factorial, but my output is in the form of 7 factorial. So what I could easily do is to make this 7 factorial means multiply this by 6 and 7. Because I have multiplied the denominator by 6 and 7, I'll multiply the numerator also by the same, which means the first term can become 42 by 7 factorial. What about the second term? Try it like this. 1 by 6 factorial So to make it 7 factorial, multiply this by 7, which means numerator also multiply it by 7. So overall this is becoming 7 by 7 factorial. So the first term is 42 by 7 factorial. This is 7 by 7 factorial and this is 1 by 7 factorial. So for all the terms 7 factorial is in the denominator, so I can very well add the numerators and that becomes 50 by 7 factorial. That is equal to k by 7 factorial. So I can very well equate the numerator saying k equal to 50. So I can mark B as the option choice in this case. Correct? Alright. Let's move on to the next question now. Okay. For two random variables A and B, expectation of AB is 20. Expected value of A is 5. Expected value of B is 6. Expected value of A squared is 50 and B squared is 52. Find the correlation between A and B. What is the formula for correlation? Correlation is nothing but covariance between A and B divided by the standard deviation of A multiplied by the standard deviation of B. Now, how do I get covariance of AB? These are just the remembrance of the various formulas. Expected value of AB minus expected value of A into expected value of B. That is what is a measure of covariance. Whereas standard deviation of A is nothing but expected value of A squared minus expected value of A whole squared. This is expected is standard deviation square root of this. Similarly, square root of expected value of B squared minus expected value of B whole squared. So look at substituting now. Expected value of AB is 20. Expected value of A into expected value of B, 5 into 6, 30. Numerator is 30. Divided by square root of expected value of A squared is 50 minus expected value of A whole squared, 5 squared, 25 into square root of expected value of B squared, 52. Expected value of B whole squared, 6 squared, 36. So overall this is becoming minus 10 divided by square root of 25. Alright, so probably I can directly write it as 5 into square root of 16. I can write it as 4. So minus 10 by 20 working out to minus 1 by 2. The correlation between A and B. So this is purely a formula driven kind of a problem. The correlation between A and B comes out as minus 1 by 2 or minus 0.5. The moment we are seeing the numerator is negative, probably I need not look at even these option choices at all. I could have directly marked the answer as A because the numerator covariance expected value of AB minus expected value of A into expected value of B, that has already come out to be negative. So correlation will definitely be negative, which is what has been shown as minus 0.5 in this example. Alright. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, just go through it. There is a 60% chance that the economy will be good next year. Okay, this is today. All we are saying is there is a 60% chance that the economy will be good. and 40% chance that it will be bad. Then, if the economy is good, there is a 70% chance that XYZ will have an EPS of 5 and a 30% chance that their EPS will be 3.5. If the economy is bad, there is an 80% chance of having 1.5 and 20% chance of having 1. Now the question is, what is the firm's expected EPS? So expected value probably is nothing but the probabilities multiplied by the appropriate values. So what is the probability of getting a 5? There is a 60% that it will come here, and out of that 60% another 70%. So 60% into 70%, which works out to 42%. So there is a 42% chance of getting a 5. 60 into 30, 18%. So this is how the 60% is split across these two positions. Similarly, if in case of bad, 40 and 80, which works out to 32%, and this works out to 8%. So probably the problem is revised now. There is a 42% chance of getting a 5. There is an 18% chance of getting a 3.5. There is a 32% chance of getting 1.5, and there is 8% chance of getting a 1. So the expected EPS is nothing but the weighted average of the same. Okay, let's try and compute how much it works out to. Right, 42% into 5 plus 18% into 3.5 plus 32% into 1.5 plus 8% into 1, working out to 3.29. 3.29 is the expected EPS in this case, which is what I am marking as the option choice B. So if you do these numericals slightly carefully, there is a good chance of not making any kind of mistakes in these calculations. I hope this problem is clear. Alright, we'll move on to the next problem. Yeah, look at this. A student takes 3 exams. The second has twice as many questions as the first. The third has 3 times as many questions as the first. Okay. So if I assume X number of questions in the first exam, then obviously 2x questions will be there in the second exam. 3x questions are there in the third exam. So totally probably this person would have answered 6x questions. 3x, 2x and x. Fair enough. The student answers exactly 75% of the questions correctly on the first exam. So probably 0.75x number of questions he has answered correctly. Exactly 81% on the second exam. So which is 0.81 into 2x. Those many questions he has answered correctly. And exactly 85% on the third exam. So 0.85 into 3x. So totally how many questions did he answer correctly? 0.75x plus 1.62x plus 2.55x. So probably all this I can add up, right? 4.92x is the total number of questions which he had answered correctly. out of 6x questions. So what is his average now? 68.82, which is 82% of the questions are answered correctly. So as a quick answer to it, I'll mark the A as the option choice, 82%. So with small patience and making sure that your arithmetic calculations don't crop in, you can actually score more out of these questions. Now moving on to the next question. Considering two random variables x and y, if the covariance of xy is 100, standard deviation of x is 15 and the standard deviation of y is 10. Find the regression coefficient of x on y. Just try to recollect correlation coefficient if the question is the case. Then probably we are calling it as covariance of x comma y divided by standard deviation of x into standard deviation of y. But if the question is the regression coefficient of x on y is the dependent variable. So this comes out as covariance of x comma y divided by variance of y. That is what if I say x on y. Whereas if the question is y on x, here instead of y I would have written it as x. So whatever is on, that variable will come in the denominator here. So covariance of x comma y 100 by variance of y 100, which is working out to 1 itself. So I could directly mark the option choice C here. 1 is the regression coefficient of x on y. If the same question had been what is the regression coefficient of y on x, then I could have taken 100 divided by variance of x. Standard deviation is 15, so variance of x is 225. So it would have become 4 by 9. In that case, this would have been marked as the answer. But because the question is x on y, you should not get confused. Y should be there in the denominator. I will be taking variance of y, not the variance of x. Alright. Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Look at this. The sum of the first 10 terms of a non-zero geometric series. So what is the sum of the first 10 terms of a geometric series? A into r to the power of 9 minus 1. If you see the sum of first 10 terms, we used to say a into r to the power of n minus 1 minus 1. Same logic here. A into r to the power of 9 minus 1. Similarly, for the first 5 terms, if I want, I am doing a into r to the power of 4 minus 1. Now what it is saying, this is 244 times the sum of the first 5 terms. So the ratio between these two is working out to around 244. So simplifying it, right, I think a into r to the power of n minus 1. So this becomes, even this is n minus 1. So r to the power of 10 minus 1 by r to the power of 5 minus 1 is equal to 244. Either I can do it intuitively, or I can substitute these values, because any of the question is about finding the common ratio r. I can substitute any one of these values and I can try it out. Or sometimes what I could do is I can simply do it as an expression. R power 10 minus 1 is equal to 244 r power 5 minus 244. So a basic equation is telling r power 10 minus 244 r power 5 plus 243 equal to 0. Now if I am assuming r power 5 equal to some k, it comes out as k squared minus 244k plus 243 equal to 0. So which is coming out as k minus 243 into k minus 1 equal to 0, working out to k equal to either 1 or 243. K is nothing but r power 5. If r power 5 is 1, then r may be equal to 1. Means there is a common ratio. So all are ones only. R k equal to 243 means r power 5 equal to 243, working out to r equal to 3. Now r equal to 1 cannot be a solution, because if r is 1, then all the terms are the same term itself. If r is 1, all the terms are the same itself. So I'm not going with r equal to 1, I'm taking r equal to 3 itself. So which means I can directly mark D as the option choice here. I hope this part is comfortable. A quick practice is what typically gives you, but sometimes I suggest you can very well substitute the answer choices, and based on that also you can very well evaluate your questions. Now moving on to the next question. Yeah, this is an integration related question. Okay, we have to be slightly careful. Integral of x cube minus 5 by x power 6 plus 2 by x minus 4 e power minus 4x dx. Now each one, it's better that you integrate it separately. This is of the form x power 1, x power n. So x power n plus 1 by n plus 1. Okay. This also I can write it as 5 into x to the power of minus 6. So again this also will be of the same case. 5 into x to the power of n plus 1 minus 6 plus 1 minus 5 by minus 5. Be careful about the plus and the minus signs. 1 by x, the integral is log x. So 2 into log x minus 4 into e power minus 4x. E power x, the integral is always e power x, by e power ax means e power ax by a. So this is what, and finally a constant c. Now simplification, be careful about it. X power 4 by 4. Now this becomes a plus, and a 5 goes off. X to the power of minus 5. I can very well write it as 1 by x to the power of 5 plus 2 log x. Again using the formulas, 2 log x is nothing but log x squared. Again this goes off, minus and a minus will go off, so this becomes a plus e power minus 4x plus c. And just a quick simplification between these two terms gives me x power 9 plus 4 by 4x power 5, just matching it with the answer choices, plus log x squared plus e power minus 4x plus c. Look at it. X power 9 plus 4 by 4x power 5 plus log x squared plus e power minus 4x plus c. You see, some places small modifications here and there. That is what will eat away your options. So you have to be very careful when you are simplifying these kind of questions. Right? There is not too much of intelligence that goes into it, but it's more of patience and carefully solving the problem. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Right. The number of claims arriving at an insurance company follows a Poisson distribution with a mean of 3 per hour. What is the mean of a Poisson distribution? We know that lambda is the mean for a Poisson distribution. So lambda equal to 3. And what is the probability of getting 5 claims in an hour? What is the probability of x equal to x in case of Poisson distribution? E power minus lambda, lambda power x by x factorial. So just substituting the numbers again here, e power minus 3 into 3 power 5, probability of getting x equal to 5 divided by 5 factorial. So probably a simplification of this will solve the purpose. So let's simplify it. E power minus 3 into 3 power 5 divided by 5 factorial. 5 factorial is 120. So around 10.08%. So the closest one looks like 10%. So I can very well mark B as the answer choice. So I'm marking B as the answer choice in this case, 10.08%. Alright. Let's move on to the next question. In how many ways can a team of 7 people, 4 men and 3 women, okay, I need to select 4 men and 3 women from a lot of 12 people, number of men is double that of number of women. So out of this 12, the only possibility where number of men is double that of number of women is having 8 men and 4 women. And we are talking now about only selection. So which means I can use a combination and need not require a permutation. So as per the combination now, in how many ways I can select 4 men from 8? I can do it in 8C 4 ways. In how many ways I can select 3 women from 4? I can do it in 4C 3 ways. So 8C4, 8 factorial by 8 minus 4 factorial into 4 factorial into 4C3, 4 factorial divided by 4 minus 3, 1 factorial into 3 factorial. So 1 4 factorial is going off. 8 factorial by 4 factorial into 3 factorial. So 8 into 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 factorial. So this 4 factorial is doing that off. Divided by 3 factorial, which is 6. So this is getting taken off. So 7 5 is 35. 35 into 8 280. So that is where I am getting 280 as the answer, where I am marking the option choice D. Alright. Let's move on to the next question now. If the variance of x is 5, what is the variance of 2x plus 5? Remember, if the question is about what is the mean, you increase the mean also by the same extent. So if the mean of x is 5, if a question is about find the mean of 2x plus 5, then you do it as 2 into 5 plus 5, 15. But if it is about variance, like this question, if it is about variance, first of all, ignore this constant addition part. Any constant added or subtracted does not impact the standard deviation or the variance at all. Only the multiplied term will have an impact on the variance, and typically the variance of ax plus b will always be same as a squared times the variance of x. So which means 2 squared times the variance of x, which is 5. 2 square and 5, 20. So which goes with option choice A in this case. So these things have to be remembered, and not much of silly mistakes can happen in these areas. Alright. Let's move on to the next question now. Okay. The probability that a shooter hits a target in a trial is 0.3. So the probability of success, probably I am looking at it as 0.3. If the shooter makes 10 such independent trials, what is the chance that he has exactly 3 successes? This is a case of a binomial distribution, because the only possibilities for him is success and failure. So if there is a 0.3 chance of a success, then there is a 0.7 chance of a failure. 0.3 chance of a success, 0.7 chance of a failure, then it means in 10 such trials, what is the chance of having exactly 3 successes? Getting exactly 3 successes is nothing but NCR into P per R into 1 minus P to the power of N minus R. So NCR, I need 3 successes, 10C3 into 0.3 to the power 3 and 0.7 to the power 7. That should be the probability for us. 10 factorial by 7 factorial into 3 factorial is what will work out to 10C3. So working out again, 10 into 9 into 8 divided by 3 factorial, which is 6. So simplifying it becomes 120. So this becomes 120 into 0.3 power 3 into 0.7 to the power 7. 0.3 to the power 3 into 0.7 to the power 7. So let's simplify it. 120 into 0.3 to the power 3 into 0.7 to the power 7. Working out to around 26.68%. Do we have an answer? Yeah, we have 26.7% as the answer. So we can very well look at B as the option choice for this question. Alright. So remembering some of the formulas itself can typically help us in solving a good number of problems. So we need to be more and more comfortable with 1. Remembering the formula, 2. Applying a right formula in the right context. Alright, let's move on to the next question.